In today's relationship story from Reddit, OP catches the love of his life sleeping with his cousin and decides to move on with his life. However, just when he was getting ready to make his mark on the world, something unpredictable happened.
Years ago, I was best friends with this girl, and for the purpose of this story, we'll call her Claire. We'd known each other ever since we were kids, and our families were close. Me and Claire were always there for each other, and I helped her through some crazy stuff, like a health scare that her mom had. During our high school years, she also helped me get through a pretty bad breakup, so, we had each other's backs. Even though me and Claire were attracted to each other growing up, we never acted on it because we were afraid that something could go wrong and ruin our friendship. Claire was insanely beautiful, but so were her mom and her sisters, but I kept everything purely platonic. Funnily enough, though, some of her boyfriends were a lot like me, and she'd always fight with them because she had a habit of comparing us. I always felt responsible for these breakups, and told her that maybe we needed to spend more time apart so she could figure out what she wanted. She texted me the next day saying that she wanted to talk at her house, and I got nervous because I didn't know what to expect. She sat me down in her living room and told me everything. She told me that she was in love with me and wanted to be more than friends. At first, I thought it was a joke, because when this happened, it was April 1st. But then she kissed me, and immediately I was hooked. I kept thinking about how dumb I was, always avoiding my chance to be with her. But now, everything between us was perfect. I felt like a king that had found his queen, and our families were ecstatic, in full pre-wedding mode, even though we were just starting our first year of college. With a big grin on his face, her dad said to me, "About time. I was wondering what was taking you guys so long." Me and Claire did everything together. We had a lot of good times, and when things were bad, we dealt with our issues, never hiding anything from each other. She was really looking like the love of my life material, and she'd always tell me how she'd love me forever. I was on cloud 9 until a few months later. I noticed that she and my younger cousin, who was 18 at the time, were hanging out a lot. My cousin wasn't exactly the most responsible person in the world, but I always looked out for him and saw him like a little brother. I noticed that he would at times look at Claire the way some guys look at any girl when they're on the hunt. I'd calmly asked him what was going on, but he'd sheepishly say nothing and walk away. I didn't pay any attention to it at the time, but one night when Claire and I were chilling in my dorm watching a movie with the utmost sadness in her voice, she randomly said, "Please don't ever leave me." I told her that I wouldn't, and in response to that, she smiled. After that night, things started taking a turn. She became distant and kept withdrawing from me. And even when we had sex, as much as we loved it, it felt like it was becoming a routine, something to keep me happy instead of keeping us happy. This went on for about 5 months, but by Valentine's Day, she was back to normal. She was all loving, fun, and gave me her full attention. I even bought her a diamond necklace with some money that I saved up, which was a good day, which makes what happened all the more bitter. I had planned to propose to her that night, but I'd forgotten to get the ring from my dorm. After I dropped her off, I went back to my car and checked to see if it was there before I drove back to get it. Sure enough, it was in the car. It must have fallen under the seat. As I was getting ready to go back in to surprise her, I saw my cousin drive by and park in front of her house, and my car was in the shadows, so he didn't see me. I watched him go to the door, and when he knocked, Claire answered, and they started talking. He kept trying to kiss her, and she feebly told him no, but soon enough, they were in full makeout mode. She then took him by the hand and went inside. They didn't even bother closing the door fully. I was livid. I actually started breathing hard and heavy and felt like I was going to pass out. I couldn't believe what I just saw. My heart was telling me to wait before I did anything crazy, but my brain said, "Finish this." I got out and ran to the door, and without making any noise, I snuck into the house. I hear her in the living room moaning wildly and him grunting. I was seeing red, but I stayed in control. I took out my phone, hit record, and quietly walked to a corner of the living room and saw what I can never unsee. She was riding him like some damn banshee. Once I had enough proof, I called out to her, and they both freaked out. She jumped off of him, and they looked at me, speechless. She started sobbing, claiming, "I can explain. Please don't hate us." My cousin was pale, knowing that I could easily beat him into oblivion, but I didn't stick around. I showed her the ring and told her, "You threw this away," and left. They chased after me while putting on their clothes, trying to BS their way out of getting caught. Later on, she'd send me insane text messages saying things like, "I'm sorry, please talk to me. It's not what you think. You don't know his story. It only happened once. He was being a good friend. He was helping me and I couldn't tell you. Don't break us, we can fix this. You're being petty and immature." And my personal favorite, it didn't even last long. To finish, she tried to shift blame onto me when I didn't respond, but that all went to hell for her when I exposed the truth. The fallout was a nuclear mess, and her sisters, except for the youngest, tried to blame me for all of it. They even tried to trick me into taking her back, but I wasn't having it. They went on to tell me that it had been going on for 5 months, which was around the time I noticed them getting close. To make this whole thing even worse, while she was sleeping with both of us, she didn't even make him use protection. I knew right then and there that I was done with her. They were barely clothed when I caught them. She was in her bra and he was in his damn socks. It was like watching an adult movie in real time, with me as the unwilling audience. The sounds and things she did with him in that moment hurt. I thought that I was the only one who could get her excited like that. She claimed that she always loved my body and I work out a good amount, but seeing her bouncing on his bony ass made me feel insecure. There was no reconciliation to be had, and all I could think about while I was driving away was, what did I do wrong? I gave her everything and got rewarded with her backstabbing. While we were dating, she was on birth control, and except for one time, I always wrapped up. I was glad that I did since my prick cousin went raw with her and probably finished inside her. I never yelled at her, and I never mistreated or ignored her. If she was happy, I was happy knowing that she was happy. We'd known each other our whole lives, and I foolishly thought that she was the one. One time we had a tarot card reading at the mall, and the lady told me that a great love would find me. I told her she already did, referring to Claire, but she gave Claire a funny look, which should have been one of the red flags right there. Not a day goes by when I'm not thankful for catching her because I would have married her, not knowing the kind of person she really was. The aftermath, as I mentioned, was cataclysmic. After I nuked them both, her parents kept blowing up my phone, demanding to know what happened, saying that Claire was inconsolable. I told them what happened, and her mom dropped to the floor while her father kept apologizing to me, saying that I didn't deserve this. Sides were made in this, and a lot of friendships were broken as our families were torn apart. Her 2 sisters, with the youngest not knowing the full story at the time, along with our circle of friends, kept attacking my phone with texts, saying that I needed to talk to her, and her oldest sister wanted me to take her back, even coming up with some BS excuse about a mental defect that magically just occurred. It's like they wanted me to rug sweep her cheating, but she made the decision to cheat on me. They told me everything about how and when it happened, which was during those 5 months she would tell me that she was making up some overtime at work, and how her colleagues would cover for her. They told me about how nervous my cousin would get whenever I went to see him and my aunt. I was a trusting fool who always wanted to see the best in people, and I got burned for it. Claire kept calling me, and in her voicemails, her voice always sounded tired and strained from her crying. She'd say stuff like, "I shouldn't do this," and that a part of her died when I left. She begged to speak to me, claiming that I swore I'd never leave her, but I couldn't allow myself to listen to her anymore, so I blocked her and never responded to her messages. My cousin tried to reach me a few times, but I ignored him too. I never forgot the smug smile he threw when I saw him in my rearview window as I drove away that night. I knew that if I saw him, I'd want to hurt him, and I could easily do it, and he knew this. But there was no way that I'd be doing jail time over this. My aunt told me that he felt guilty, and that he did what he did because he wanted to know what it was like to be me. I was done after that, and went no contact with both of them. I moved away and never looked back. The first year of college was tough. I'd never been cheated on before, and it really messed with my head, but I had plenty of friends to help me out. My mom and dad were also a great support system, and my buddies actually took me on a trip with them to France so I could clear my head, which was the best thing. Seeing the Eiffel Tower, eating some madeleines, and learning French really boosted my confidence, and getting to sketch some French girls nude didn't hurt either. I was 22 when all this happened, but now I'm 27, working as a graphic designer, making good money, and enjoying my life. I'd been on a few dates, but nothing ever worked out. But a few months ago, I got a message from someone I never expected to hear from. It was Claire's youngest sister, Alice, and she said that she got my number from my parents and wanted to catch up with me. I was always cool with her, so we kept texting and catching up. We really clicked, and it all felt new and exciting. The last time I saw her, she was a cute, skinny kid with braces, but when she sent me a recent picture, my jaw dropped. She was out of this world stunning. I mean, the ladies in her family were always gorgeous, but she was something else. We met up, and she hugged me so tight that I honestly didn't want to let her go. We started hanging out a lot, and she told me about some stuff that happened after I left. Apparently, my cousin got Claire pregnant, and they tried to stay together for the baby. But in the end, he cheated on her, and then she cheated on him. Things really went south for them, and they gave the baby up for adoption. After that, Claire moved to LA, but I don't know or care about what happened to my cousin. She said that she never forgave her sister for hurting me, and said that she used to have fantasies about me and her playing house. She had a crush on me, and said that she always thought about me, and that I was the perfect guy, a guy that her sister didn't deserve. I told her that I liked her too, and would like to start dating her if she'd have me, and the rest is history. I have a good life, and I'm falling in love again. I learned a lot from my experiences, and wanted to share my story to let people know that there is life after infidelity. I want to remind people that it's never too late to start over, and more importantly, never settle for second best.
Well, that was quite an epic tale. And since OP took all the right steps after discovering his partner's transgressions, I don't really have much else to add. That said, OP's story doesn't end here, because he ends up crossing paths with Claire again, and things get a little messy. But let's quickly check out some comments before moving on.
Badger Brush says, "What did Claire or her parents say when you started dating Alice?" The OP responded with, "Her folks, who I always got along with, were surprisingly supportive. Her dad's nickname for me was son-in-law, so when everyone found out about me and their youngest getting together, he said with a pat on my back, 'I got my son-in-law back.' He really is a chilled dude." Her mom was cool with Alice being happy, but I could feel some tension towards me. I think she always thought that Claire and I would work it out and get back together, but she's at least civil with me. Claire was pissed when she found out and started talking about how she had plans to win me back, but Alice wasn't having it. From what Alice told me, it got ugly, and their eldest sister had to step in and stop them. Quahog says, "Claire will always be a pain in the butt for you and Alice, so it's important for you and Alice to let her know that she's welcome to be a part of your family, as long as she's supportive of your current relationship and doesn't make any advances on you. Take it slow, be deliberate, and best of luck to you." The OP responds with, "You're right about the family part. It's been so long since having to deal with her, but I don't want there to be any more conflict between Alice and Claire. I told Alice this, and even suggested that maybe we should cool things off, but she said to me she wants a future with me and won't give us up. I told her that I want the same, but we have to figure out how to go about this. Keep in mind, I still haven't seen Claire since our split, which is why I think she's going crazy. Her family are having some event at her house which I'm invited to, but that means I would see her again. Alice understood if I wanted to opt out, but I can tell that she wants me with her, and I'll want to support my girl, so we're going together. I love her too much to disappoint her." Blue Dolphin says, "When you propose to Alice, don't use the same ring you purchased for Claire, but I'm guessing that you already arrived at that conclusion, but I felt that it needed to be said. I'm guessing that Alice would get an upgrade anyway, because you're no longer a poor college student." The OP replies, Oh, don't worry about that. I'll never treat Alice as secondhand in anything, especially with a secondhand ring. We talked about this, and I assured her that I'm all hers.
There were some pretty interesting replies from OP there, but let's find out how this story ends.
Alice and I went to her parents' house for her little cousin's birthday. I didn't understand why she was so excited at first, but this was her favorite cousin, and he taught her how to play piano, so I guess she wanted to show me off to him. The dude was pretty cool and was a beast on the keys. The party was good, and everyone was having fun, with Alice and I talking to her parents, and her dad still joking about wedding dates with us. Everything was flowing well. Then, through the crowd, I see the old circle with Claire as their ringleader. I was amazed to see how good she still looked, and she still had that laugh that I used to love, and she was becoming the center of attention. I still wasn't completely ready to face her, so I turned away before she was able to see me. A few more hours pass, the party's winding down, and everyone's getting ready to leave. Alice tells me that she'll be right back and goes to the bathroom while I talk to some people who asked me about my graphic designing. A few moments pass, and all of a sudden we hear shouting coming from the back of the house. Claire and Alice were screaming at each other on the backyard patio, and they even came close to getting physical, but the older sister stepped in. Claire was raging at Alice, saying how she stole me from her and that she had no right to go after me, because sisters don't go after each other's boyfriends. Alice then screamed, "Then you should have kept your freaking legs closed." Claire pushed her older sister out of the way and tried to take a swing at Alice, but she blocked it, and was about to knock her on her ass before I got in between them. I was sick of seeing Alice and her sister at each other's throats, so I had to put an end to it. I pulled Alice to one side and yelled at Claire, "What the hell's wrong with you? This is your little sister." She finally snapped out of it, and she looked at me. It was the first time in years that we'd seen each other eye to eye. With her voice cracking, she says, "You came." Everyone was looking at us, and her parents were very embarrassed by what was going on. Claire's eyes watered up, and she asked if we could talk. I knew there was no going back, so I said, "Yeah, but on one condition, Alice stays here with me." She tried to argue that she wanted us to talk alone, but I wasn't going to let that happen. Either she stays or I walk. It really made no difference to me. I wanted Alice to stay because I have no secrets from her. She'd opened up to me so much, so I wasn't going to keep her out of this, not with her own family. She's a part of my family now, so she deserved to be a part of what was going on. We moved to the pool area, and this is how it went. I asked, "So what's up?" And Claire said, "You look good. Blue was always your color. It's really good to see you." Not taking her bait, but being polite, I said, "Thanks, but what's this about? What do you want?" And to that she said, "I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I just want you to know that I thought about what I did to you for a long time. You were so good to me, and I messed it all up. So believe me when I say that I don't know why I did what I did." I replied, "That's a damn lie, and you know it." While trembling, she whispered, "I don't know how much you know, but me and your cousin had a daughter, and I named her Annalise." I was getting pissed because when we were together for those 3 years, we talked about what our first kid was going to be called. If it was a boy, Elkan, and if it was a girl, Annalise. Annalise was my grandmother's name, and she adored Claire when we were little. The fact that she still named her kid after my grandmother had me seeing red. Even Alice was surprised by this, so I'm guessing that Claire never told her family the baby's name before giving her away. Alice took my hand and rubbed it, and we stared at each other before Claire cleared her throat, giving Alice a nasty look. Claire then went on to ask, "Why is she still here? This is between us." So I said, "There is no us. Alice and I have been together for a year, and this means more to me than the 3 years I was with you, and I want a future with her." Alice was tearing up and started holding my hand so tight that it hurt. I carried on and said, "Whatever you say to me, you say to her." Claire went on to say, "She's been obsessed with you for years, and she used to write love poems and recite them to her stuffed animals, thinking you were playing house. You're not supposed to be with her, you're supposed to be with me." I looked over at Alice and asked about the poems, and if I could see them, but she blushed and told me that they were pretty lame. In any case, I wanted to see for myself. Claire cut off our conversation and said, "Look, I know you're with her just to hurt me, and I get it, an eye for an eye. You with my sister, me with your cousin, but can we just start over? I'm better now. I made a crappy mistake, and I'm so sorry. I'm human. People mess up, but I learned to be better. I can get back your trust, so let me make it up to you. Will you at least give me that?" I couldn't believe what she was saying to me after all this time. I said, "You wasted that years ago when you chose to betray me, and on Valentine's Day of all days. No, you need to hear this. For those 5 years I kept asking myself what I did wrong. Why wasn't I enough? And it took some real soul-searching to see that the problem wasn't falling in love with you. It was being blinded by you. I used our friendship to blind me for what you really were, and why your boyfriends before me never stuck around. You're empty, and always looking for someone to fill that glass of nothingness inside you. You never figured out what you wanted, and I won't be another sucker to pour into your glass. I honestly thought seeing you was going to be tougher than this, but I don't feel anything for you anymore. I've had plenty of time with new people, new hobbies, and the new places I visited helped me to heal. What we had was fun, but we're different people now, and I don't see the girl I grew up with when I look at you, just someone who needs to get themselves together. I found my special someone, and it's Alice. I love your sister, and I'm hoping that one day we'll get married. You want to make it up to me? Be a better sister and get your crap together. Stop this fighting. You used to be her hero, so start trying to earn those points back and go from there." After that, Claire was in tears, shaking as if someone dropped a bomb on her. She knew right then and there that this was over, and there'd be no reconciliation. She was trying to say something, but ultimately she shut her mouth and shook her head, which to me was her accepting it, I guess. She then asked to speak to Alice alone, and called their oldest sister to join them, so I gave them space. In the end, all the sisters cried and hugged each other, so I think they finally came to some understanding. Their mom, who watched them, looked at me with tears, holding my hand and kept saying thank you. Their dad also thanked me with a big hug. I mean, really, this whole thing was overwhelming. When it was over, Alice broke down in my arms. She kept thanking me and said that Claire gave us her blessing and that she loved me. She also asked if it was okay if she stayed with her sisters for a while, saying they needed to properly catch up. She needed it, so I told her to give me a call when she was done. In the end, I got my peace, helped Alice's family get back together, and found my happy ending. To all the ladies and fellas in the world, I want to remind you all that life doesn't stop at heartbreak. You've got to keep pushing, no matter how hard it seems. Always strive for better, and never anything secondhand. We're not Plan Bs, and we have these scars as a reminder, allowing us to remember that we survived the worst pain, and we can turn it into a power. I know how cliché and laughable this always sounds, but time, patience, and good company really do make a huge difference. It's never too late, and you're worth it. We all are.
Thankfully, OP was able to find what he was looking for, and we can only hope that more cheating stories end like this, because no one deserves to be betrayed by the person who's supposed to love them most. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Coffee and Popcorn, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.